Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this fantastic Friday. The Future is Now Conference 2021 Black Culture Reloaded, the final day. And I want to say, thank you, Miss Lynn Graham, for providing this wonderful week-long platform where we have been entertained, we have been educated, and we have heard from some experts in the field. And that's why I am so super honored and proud to be today's moderator for some tech talk, because I love talking all things tech. So let me introduce you to our panelists, right? And they're going to tell us a little bit about not only teching, but why it's so very important. Let's begin with Mr. Ken Granderson. Ken is actually the founder and chief technology officer of Blackfacts.com LLC. And we just bonded a little bit earlier because he's from Bed-Stuy, New York, and I'm from money earning Mount Vernon. So that was great. But let me tell you something. For close to 30 years, Ken has had professional experience as an unapologetically Black software developer and architect. Ken is a Black technologist who has been living diversity in technology since the dawn of the internet age. And if you think back to when Al Gore said he invented the internet, it's been a little minute. So he is one who has conceived, coded, and deployed systems that have helped introduce thousands of individuals and businesses of color to the online world, local to international levels, with systems that predated Facebook. Do we remember pre-Facebook? What, 17 years ago? Eventbrite and Yelp. Now, these are common terms today, but Ken was in it before they were become popular. Ken stands alone as a Black tech visionary and pioneer who specializes in creating world-class technology by us, for us, and about us. So that's what our first panelist today. And let me tell you about Dale Dowdy, right? Dale is the CEO and co-founder of Blackfacts.com. Now, Dale's okay. He's not from money earning Mount Vernon or Bed-Stuy, New York, but he's from Boston, right? He's with the B, Boston and Bed-Stuy, we got it all going on. And he was actually born in Jamaica. Hey, maybe next year or the year after, we'll be having this conference in Jamaica, and Dale can show us all around. He moved to the United States at the age of 6. He spent his childhood, be more. That's right, the DMV from Baltimore. All right, you're right. You're back in the club, with the B. So great. He graduated from Tacoma Academy in Silver Spring, Maryland. Yes, that's right down the street from Delaware. As an avid reader, he was fascinated with understanding how things work and had a talent for solving difficult problems. At the age of 17, he was selected to work at NASA at the Goddard Space Flight Center, and he discovered his love for computers and software. Dale started his first company while studying computer engineering at Boston University. As a serial entrepreneur, that's how most of us got when we started, serial entrepreneurship, he founded his third company, right? Intelligent Tech Consulting. I hope you'll clean that up for me, right, Dale? While he was still in college. And for over 20 years, he has developed industry-specific web and mobile-enabled solutions. So good morning, Ken. Good morning, Dale, and welcome to Black Culture Reloaded, The Future is Now Conference 2021.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was a great introduction, by the way. We should record that and replay it anytime.
Yes, or if you want me to do it again, a voiceover, let me know, because I love the Bed-Stuy and the Boston. We got that going on. We got the Be More too as well. So guys, I just did an introduction, and I know the written introductions are great, but we want to know a little bit more about you before we actually get into the fireside chat. So Ken, start with a little bit about your love for all things tech.
Sure. I guess it started in high school. I was fortunate enough to be in a family that valued learning and made sure that I had opportunities to learn things, and got me into a school where I had access to a computer. This is in the mid to late 70s. Long story short, got the bug back then, but we couldn't afford a computer. Ended up getting into stereo and DJing. Dale will probably reference why that's important later. But maybe about 10 years. So left Brooklyn in 1980, go to MIT, was going to do computer science. The computer science nerds were so scary that I decided to stick with the hi-fi stereo stuff. It was the late 90s. I returned to my interest in computers, and through a series of steps that I'm not sure if you want, this is just the overview thing, because I know our time is limited and we can talk about this stuff for hours, how deep you want me to go into how I actually got to the point of creating software. You got to give me some guidance on how far you want me to go in now or later.
No, and you know what? That was great. That's a great foray into how you first got started into tech. And now that you've dropped those gems about the hi-fi, and some people may not know what hi-fi is. They know what Wi-Fi is,
right.
But you may have to clean up the hi-fi. That's our generation. They may not know what a hi-fi is.
Noted. I actually remind Dale sometimes about some of the references to things. Stereo. I was DJing, big speakers, parties, doing parties from New Hampshire down to New Haven for the Black Boston, the college community.
And you said that Dale would understand why the stereo reference was so important. So Dale, tell us, was that how you started in your tech career as well? The hi-fi stereo, the Bed-Stuy parties?
No, definitely not. I was a hacker in high school.
Wow.
And I didn't know, all the young folks don't even know what that is, but I was using computers to get into stuff that I wasn't supposed to. And my teacher said he could put my energies to better use, so then I became the first high school student to be hired by NASA. And we did predictive modeling in Fortran and JCL. But bottom line is, all the storm tracking stuff you see today when there's a hurricane? We wrote the original code for that. And then when I went to Boston University, I pledged Phi Beta Sigma, and the Black Student Union at MIT was called Chocolate City, and that's where the Black folks hung out. And Ken was a DJ there, and that's how I met him. We didn't know what we would end up doing business together at the time, but it was because he was a DJ and he was really good. And every time you were going to a good party, if Ken was there, the music was going to be on. So, but that's how we met. Prior to, finishing up at school, I actually dropped out after I started my business because I thought I knew everything. I was making more money than my parents when I was 21, and life was great. And then, of course, didn't know how to run a business. So then I ended up sleeping on my friend's sofa again.
Wow.
But it was a cadre of Black technical nerds in Boston area, and we all started our own businesses, and Ken was one of them with his company Inner City Software, and I was another of them with one of my early companies, and then eventually reincorporated with Intellitech Consulting. And all of us worked together because there was only a small group of us. So.
And that is so great because, like you said, college and HBCUs, or even colleges where there is a lot of us there, our culture, with families, familiar, we become very comfortable and we build those relationships that are lifelong. Look at you guys right now. So this is great. So Ken, what was your first real tech job? I mean, that steady pay, that benefits and health insurance and all that good stuff.
Right. Yeah. So actually, my first one actually was dealing with electronics, but I ended up leaving that. My first computer job was for Phoenix Technologies, which interestingly enough, Dale also worked for at the time. They legally cloned these chips that launched the IBM compatible computer industry. I was doing software testing. I got the bug to do programming. I asked them if I took classes, would they do tuition reimbursable? They said, no, you're doing software testing and we're more of a hardware company than a software company. So then I asked them, well, if I end up programming, can we amend the employment agreement so you don't own any intellectual property? And they said, yes. So I'm happy to say that, contrary to a lot of the conversation out there about diversity in technology, the only thing I've ever asked a majority tech company to do was not get in my way when I did my thing, because I bought a couple of books that I actually have to this day, taught myself how to program in C and C++, and started putting some programs out there in a sequence of steps that, that involved things like I have like the show and tell stuff, because I've saved all these things where, this was a program that I wrote that did keyboard remapping stuff. After I quit Phoenix, they ended up hiring me back at twice the rate to work from home in the 90s. This is the Phoenix Facts, and in here there's a little, what's called an Easter egg, a little picture of a address book with my mom working there for, quote, exporting. Everything that I'm showing you, I have pictures on my personal website, kengranderson.com. This was a shareware program that I built, that I sold to this company, DataCal. And the thing that got me really started was getting a program in this book with those that also totally set me on a path to do Black technology, because Dale had mentioned inner city software with the very urban theme.
Oh my gosh!
And on the website, you can see some of the screens that show where they printed my help file verbatim, including shout outs to, let's say, some of our more, quote, controversial pro-Black leaders. This was a couple of years before the Million Man March.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But they printed it verbatim. That book was in CompUSA all around the country. I got 2,000 people to register that for $20. I was getting 43 grand as a salary. So I quit the job and started doing my own thing, because I realized that the opportunities were wide open. There was nothing in the way. And I could be myself, completely Black as you want to be, and do my thing. And that's what I've been trying to do ever since then.
That is an amazing journey. And Ken, you're talking my language. I was a IBMer back in the 80s. Okay. So I worked for IBM. I was not techie. I was not software. I was a secretary, but I learned a lot. I learned more about speaking and, sitting in the boardrooms and things like that. So that deal, the DOS and, the floppy disk, all that, that's bringing back all these memories. Like, oh my God, you sent me back to the plantation with that, because IBM was my life for 32 years.
No, but you know what? Now I hear you, and yeah, the plantation reference, but I think that appreciation needs to be given to like IBM, Digital Equipment, Hewlett Packard. They were some of the first companies to hire Black folks back in, the 80s and stuff. And many of those folks have started companies and have, So IBM, they were ahead of the game.
Yeah, and I only use the plantation reference because when we have a job, a 9 to 5, we're told what time to come in, what time to go home, when we can take a vacation. So it wasn't specifically IBM. So but yeah, so that's great.
Totally there. That was a better plantation than some of the other ones.
Yeah, definitely. At least you got a pension with a gold watch. So this is before a lot of our younger generation know anything about that. So Dale, so tell me, I'm going to ask you the same question. Think back, your first tech job, that first one that paid the bills, that gave me that dental insurance, that gave me that steady pay. You were like, yeah, every day I'm going to get this every day, for the rest of my life. What was your first tech job?
Never had one. Okay.
Really?
Because my first job was as a consultant for NASA when I was 17, and they didn't give me anything. They paid me hourly. I was making, at the time, like $15 an hour, which back then was amazing, right? Because they paid well at NASA, and we were doing research for the government. So believe me, as a 17-year-old, $15 an hour, I had money to burn. And then when I went to Boston University, and I never worked for anyone, I started my first company Microtech Network Systems, and I was a computer consultant. Now the interesting thing was that as a consultant, you actually ended up working for other people. So I did work for Phoenix Technologies. I did work for Lotus, the one that used to be a Lotus before IBM bought them. I did work for DEC and and Wang Laboratories, but always as a consultant. And so it was my company that paid me, the benefits, which were ridiculously expensive as the business owner. Oh my goodness, trying to cover health insurance and stuff. Even if it was just for me as an individual / family, because I had, a family at the time, it was a challenge. But I have always been a computer consultant. I focused initially on networking, basically connecting computer systems together, PCs initially, to what became the LAN WAN industry, and I became like an architect who was brought in to solve, networking issues, as well as doing disaster recovery planning as that began to grow. And so I played more in the corporate world, whereas Ken was more in the community outreach world. And we would come together. If I needed a developer or development resources, I'd be like, hey, Ken, I need someone to help work on project X. And sometimes if he needed someone to throw on the suit and tie and do a presentation, I would be the one to come in and participate in some of the community outreach programs. And we've been like collaborating throughout the years ever since.
And that's great. You threw out some words, and I'm going to stick with you, Dale, as I go to this next question. When you talked about challenges, disaster recovery was big with IBM. We always had those big, discovery, and we bring disaster recovery agents in, and they would go through IBM and say, you need to do this, that, 2/3, and with your computers. So what has been, and Dale, again, I'm going to start with you, your biggest challenge in the tech world? Teching while Black, that's a catchphrase. I mean, it's out there, but it covers a lot. So if you can just zero in, what you think has been a major challenge in your life?
I will tell you that the biggest challenge has just been being a Black man, a dark-skinned Black man. Usually I was the only one in the room who was Black, and the only reason they brought me in is because I was the best at what I did. There might have been 20 people in the country that had the skill set that I had, and it was unfortunate seeing. You can always complain about how the fact that white was doing the entire network in another company they were acquiring, and I was working remotely and with some of their remote teams, and then they had a board meeting and brought me in for the first time to meet the head of New England Life, and I was 23 at the time. So this 23-year-old Black man comes in, and they've been speaking to me forever, but they didn't have video conferencing back then. And so Dale Dowdy is not necessarily a Black name, and I don't have Black, so they were surprised, and the vice president of New England Life Insurance terminated my contract and escorted me out of the room when he realized I was a Black person leading the team, and had no shame in his game. And I literally was, other people were embarrassed for him. He didn't care. He was just like, this Black kid is the one who's running all of our stuff and designing all this stuff. And literally in the meeting, I was escorted out of the building. And I remember being in tears, calling my mother up saying I couldn't believe that this was happening. Because understand, I had been working on this project for months, and I was the lead of all the integration. So, I think the biggest challenge for me was learning how to accept that, but not let it stop me from progressing. And a lot of the lessons I learned came down to how I dressed and how I carried myself, because since I was the only Black person, I had to be more. I had to dress better. It is amazing how many times the same people who were guards who let me in the building during the week because I was in a suit and tie, if I came in on the weekend in jeans and t-shirts, they didn't even know it was me. And they were asking for my badge, and I'm like, Steve, this is Dale. But I just look like a black guy walking in. And so the challenges that I found and the fact that made me want to work less in corporate America is because I believe that a lot of companies have good intentions when they hire people of color, but they still have their biases and restrictions against us. And so we always have ceilings around how far we can succeed. And if we get further within the corporate structure, we have to be so much better to achieve those goals. We can't just be as good as or even reasonable. We have to be so much superior. And if I'm going to be so much superior, your ass is going to pay me. So I was a consultant. I'm not working for you. You pay me the same $100 an hour, $200 that you pay IBM or these other companies because you're bringing me in for my specialty, versus working in the corporate environment and saying, well, aren't you happy that you got your $100,000 salary? Meanwhile, they're getting millions. So that's the biggest lesson that I learned.
And, Dale, it's amazing as you talk about this, and I'm sure we're all, if I could see everybody's head bobbing, because that hasn't changed. That is still one of the biggest challenges that we have. We've got to be better than, and we looked at one way. So we live in a parallel world. We have to talk a certain way when we're in that world. We have to walk and dress a certain way when we're in that world. But when we're with fam, which is like this, why this conference is so great, we can be ourselves. We can be unapologetically ourselves. Right, Ken?
Oh, absolutely.
So what has been for you, Ken, some of the biggest, or one of the biggest challenges that you found, as you've gone on in this tech world?
Okay, well, before I get to that, I got one quick question for Dale. No, because he mentioned, that he's black, he's dark skinned. How tall are you, Dale?
I'm 6'1", so even more intimidating.
Right,
I
exactly.
shrunk. I used to be 6'2", by the way.
Scary black man.
But
right.
As you get old, I don't know. I'm 6'1" now. But yes,
yeah.
Being tall and dark skinned makes an impression, and it's the whole who is this guy, so it's a challenge, and you just have to keep pushing forward. Don't ever let who you are stop you from succeeding at what you do. And don't make excuses. At the end of the day, you just got to overcome whatever challenges there are to overcome to be successful. And that's something I believe in to this day.
Definitely.
Right. So with that, in the words of the old British comedy troupe Monty Python, now something completely different.
Okay.
Because I have not really focused much in the mainstream corporate, world. My biggest challenges, quite honestly, because we're family, but we'll see, right, is that I've not gotten the kind of support from Black folks that I have always hoped to be able to get. So, again, if you go to KenGranderson.com, you will see an entire history of things like putting the neighborhood of Roxbury online. First in 1996, where and what you'll see on that site is everything from a little bit of narrative to pictures of like scans of some of the books and things, to newspaper stories, to TV stories, to presentations. And you'll see things like the 1996 event where, along with Dale and some other Black tech folks that he mentioned, we put Boston's communities of colors online. 1996, most people didn't know what the internet was. You'll actually see before that in 95, digitizing a book on Boston's Black history, trying to get it into the school system. That particular product I presented to a very well-known Black academic who was had an idea of something similar, and he opted to not work with us. He had an idea that he presented at the Schomburg. I presented a finished product to a group of Black librarians. He's named in the thing. I'm not. If folks want to read it, that's great. So the Black communities in 96, in 97, Blackfacts.com. At the time, Netscape was popular. Then they had Netscape Now, so we had Blackfacts Now. These are our new Black Facts Matter buttons. Blackfacts is the internet's first Black history encyclopedia. 1997, folks were just starting to use the internet. the purpose of Blackfacts was to say, hey, Black people, you heard about this internet thing. Don't think it's a white thing. This is about you too. 2002, in addition to putting the Black pages online, the Bay State Banner, Boston's Black newspaper online in 2001 with self-publishing. We set that up for them. 2001, 2002, we've got Roxbury.com. Neighborhood organizations, we would bring them in and train them on how to post their own flyers for their events. We had discussion groups, we had business listings. 2002, again, these are things that way ahead of the curve, but there were folks in Boston who were collaborating with like Black Enterprise and trying to work with them, and they say, oh no, we're all set. They didn't know what they're doing. And it never led to anything. Yeah, so yes, my biggest challenge has been that back then I'm happy to give a lot of folks a pass where they really didn't know what was going on. But if you look at what was done then and what we have done with Blackfacts as we've reignited it, we're using artificial intelligence. We're basically working on bringing W.E.B. Du Bois' dream project, the Encyclopedia Africana, to light. We are, talented 10th. Dale mentioned, he's a Sigma, I'm a Kappa. We've always worked across these lines, because it's all love for our people. We are committed to using our skills to help, quote, uplift the race and bring our folks, into the full participation and benefiting from the power of technology. So we will have some other things to share, as we go, I'm sure, about, things we're doing. Oh, also on the KingGranderson.com site, because you mentioned Al Gore, you'll see me shaking hands with Al Gore because I put Boston's Empowerment Zone online. But still, it was trying to get the folks to realize, we're serious about what we're trying to do. We're not, this isn't a fly by night, this isn't a whatever. So we're still in the game, we're still here. And thanks to folks like Lynn who have that vision and see, yes, we have the ability to move ourselves forward and to do our own thing. We're looking forward to just pay attention to what we're doing. Dale mentioned later, where you can sign up to get on our newsletter and stuff, because, we're doing some really interesting things that we're planning will help a lot of Black folks. So,
and we're not gonna let you get away with not telling us, because we need to know. Now, we got the Phi Beta here, we got the Kappa here, we got the Divine Nine, I'm Sigma Gamma Rho. So, we know. We are in this together. We have to collectively come together because, like you said, we've been doing this for a minute. I think we are born into just this knowledge. We just have so much. It's just that we're not given the opportunity, like Dale said. And once we're given the opportunity, not only are we blocked, as Dale said, but then we're not supported, like Ken said. So it's like, it's like you're in this box, you're just trying to get there. And it's just amazing that if we don't realize just how much we have collectively, oh my God, that's why I said I'm so super proud of Lynn and this platform, because it is bringing us together collectively so that we can share. There's power in numbers. And as this grows, I can just see it being like phenomenal. So, kudos to you, Ken, and Dale as well, for not allowing those challenges to stop you. Just made you stronger, just made you want to go on. And, that's going to lead up to, like, what are some positive things that have happened, experiences that teching while Black that others may not even know about. You talked a little bit about, Al Gore, the Roxbury thing, but Dale, what can you say, what we may think, if we're not tech savvy, what should we know?
So I will tell you, we have done some really interesting projects as, we and groundbreaking at the time. And Ken can go into a little bit more, but we have, like, the government of St. Lucia is running on our technology platform. We did the Congressional Black Caucus's websites way before they even understood technology. And, I've done, House of Representative members' websites. I did the Bronner Brothers website For the Brown Brothers Hair Show, as we had a whole series, so we've done a lot of different interesting things in technology, and I guess the biggest lesson that I've learned that is something that I still feel that we as people are challenged by, and Ken hears me say that all the time, I'd rather, own 10% of something than 100% of nothing. What I find is that people of color in particular, when we begin to start our own businesses, we want to hold on to it. It's mine. I started it. I envisioned it. And it becomes difficult for us to understand that we can partner together in a way that's beneficial. And I think that maybe is part of our cultural thing because we've never really had much in our lives. I have found challenges in working with other people of color, not because I couldn't provide them with services, but because they were wondering if I was going to get an advantage by working with them. And the thing that I've learned is that white folks collaborate all the time. They give up percentages of whatever else, and before you know it, they might only own 30%, but they're all millionaires. I'm still owning 100%, and I am, trying to make my mortgage each month. So the thing is that we don't do, that we need to do, even the people in this conference, all of us bring something to the table that probably could leverage and benefit each other. But as soon as those conversations begin, our first thought is, well, how's he going to benefit from this? And what am I giving up by risking this? And, Ken had his own business, Inner City Software, and I had my own, and we had other friends of ours, and it took, different challenges in life for us to realize, look, we are stronger together. When we work together, we achieve more because I have the strengths that I bring to the table, and he has the strengths that he brings to the table. And so, I've learned to be open to collaboration, to recognize that my idea may not be unique. Someone else thought of it before, so don't think that I'm the only one. Oh, I just had this great idea. Boy, there should be a Black business director. Well, there's tens of thousands of them all over. But it's amazing how many young folks, because I'm old too, who come to us with some great idea. Oh, this is going to be fantastic. And I'm like, yeah, okay. We thought of that in 2001. Now don't get me wrong. You might be the one to break through. And I'm not going to step on your dream, but it's being open to say, hey, you know what? I can leverage a little bit of what I have to help them, and that can actually help me. And so that's the biggest lesson that I've learned and tried to impart on others that I work with, that, hey, look, don't try to, you holding on to your business is just going to restrict yourself. The more that you recognize that if you are good at this one thing and you can bring that to the table and someone else is good at another thing, together you guys can be even better. The bigger the opportunity is for everyone to win. And I hope that that's something we can impart on others, because we are doing some really amazing things with Blackfacts, to the point of where I've, stopped working on some other projects because I see the potential, not just for myself, but for our community. And we want to make that available to people that we meet in this conference and outside of it, because it's going to change the game for us. It really is.
And you're doing an awesome job. Dr. DeMarce says, I learned so much working with Ken and Dale back in the 90s. It was my first project management gig. They are amazing. So you are making a difference. Dr. Albert, born and raised in Boston, and I'm aware of the work from both. So you are laid the foundation. You are leaving a legacy, and to continue going forward is just what you got to do. So in that same vein, what would you suggest to a newly minted, quote unquote, minted Black tech, male, female, whatever? Because now we know coding and tech is not just a male dominated field. We've got a lot of amazing women. So don't laugh at me, Dale. A lot of amazing women that are coding and teching, and they're just doing the darn thing. So Ken, you want to go first, or Dale,
Sure.
whichever. What would you suggest to someone that's new to the tech world?
Okay, well, I'm going to get to that in a moment. But yeah, you mentioned women. I want to make one reference point about that. You also mentioned because you mentioned you're in Sigma Gamma Rho. If you go to blackfacts.com/divine-9, you'll see our Divine 9 predominantly Black fraternities and sororities showcase series where we've got like about 3 to 5 minute videos for each of the organizations. So you guys are
including Sigma Gamma Rho. You guys got
Very
it.
much.
Yep, we got you all in there. But you mentioned women. So Dale mentioned St. Lucia. Well, back in inner city software, one of my programmers, Diana, was a native St. Lucian, who, she was on my staff. She ended up working actually at Dale's company for a couple of years as the industry changed in ways that where inner city software, ended up basically it was, outsourcing, globalization and free software, ate up in our revenue. So actually, Diana worked, at Dale's office where he had like 2 floors, about maybe like 24 people, in his office at the time. So yeah, we understand that women can participate, and it was actually Diana who connected me to the government of St. Lucia back around 2013. Which is what so we get it. We get it. I'm connected with a lot of up and coming Black tech folks, mostly through some Slack workspaces that have thousands, like 5,000 in this group and several thousand or whatever. One of the things that I noticed that is a bit more than a bit concerning to me but I think that it is the result of the commercialization of the industry and just since the 80s, the focus on materialism in society is that so many people seem like they're there because they're trying to get paid. And while I say, Black folks with jobs beats Black folks without jobs 8 days a week, from a bigger picture perspective, you getting a good tech job means that, you and your family, your kids are going to go to good schools and eat well. And that's nice and that's cool. No, nothing wrong with that. But history suggests that's not necessarily going to move us forward. I personally hold a lot of my generation in contempt of dropping the ball because, when I was at MIT in the 80s, we had the luxury of not being political, unlike my late friend Reggie, who was there in '74, who talked about the Black students taking over the student center.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to walk through doors that folks like, Dale's late fraternity brother, John Lewis, beat open with his head.
Mm-hmm.
But by the 80s, a lot of my folks were like, yeah, you're just trying to get paid. And it seems like that is the focus, today above everything else. Obviously, it is important. Yes, you've got to take care of yourself first. But if that's where you stop, we're not going to move forward. And for anyone who wasn't paying attention in the last 4 years, we've seen how quickly things can go back, or some of us will say they'd never changed. You just didn't realize that half the country would have voted for you to be back on the plantation if it had been on the ballot. Anyway, you're not going to get political.
True.
But, so I would encourage folks, a couple of things I encourage folks just to consider. Number one is that folks are looking for what's popular, what's the popular technology. And that's important to make it easier for you to get in the industry. But at the same time, the double-edged sword metaphor, the other edge of that sword or whatever, is that if all you can do is what's popular, then you are more replaceable than the person who can also do things that are very specialized or rare or unique, etc. And given what I've seen and experienced in the industry, I think the best way to put in some job security is to try to be creative, which probably means connecting into something that's real to you. When I first started programming, one of my first programs, and it is actually listed on the Granderson.com site, and you can download it even today, was a program of Yo Mama jokes.
Oh, I remember.
There's a little program that pops up, and you can just click it. If you found yourself in a,
I remember that.
you'd be able to do, But see, it was the irreverent and funness of it that helped me power through nights and days of trying to figure out how does this programming stuff work. So I would encourage folks, in addition to what's popular, think about, are there things that speak to who you are as a person? Speak to the things that really matter to you, other than, just getting a paycheck. Because if you find yourself in a position where getting a paycheck isn't a challenge, you'll realize that isn't a motivator anymore. And it's like, well, what's next? What's important? What's really important is, I will never try to say what should be important for someone else, but, whatever's important for you, if you can tie that to what you do to earn money, that's the best place you can be. And I'm not saying, quit your job and, whatever. No one's saying that, but just, open your mind to that. Try to get into something that you can bring more of yourself to the game, and you probably will do better at it. And please try to figure out ways to use your skills to do something for Black folks.
I love that. I love that, Ken. That is amazing. Yeah, and sometimes, you laughed about that, but comedy, sometimes, we have to laugh because there's so much pain.
Yeah.
And so making something light is a catalyst to get them experience. So Dale, let me ask you, what do you feel what suggestions you have for those that are, coming into this tech world? It's funny, like you said, they come in, they think they got the greatest and latest idea, and you birthed it in the 90s. And here they are, that whole generation. But again, it's evolution. If we don't evolve, we expire. So what kind of what suggestions would you have, other than just like, really, dude, have you researched this?
No, she said, dude.
I love the energy that this next generation is bringing into to the industry. So that's always exciting. One of the things that Ken mentioned was specialization. I think that all too often, this. I'll tell you something that is frustrating as a Black technologist and as a technologist in general. There is a belief somehow that you can take a 6-week class in Code Camp and be a programmer. What the hell is that? Like, are you going to allow your doctor to operate on you because he took a camp and they said, hey, Mr. Potato Head, you put this in here? But they're popping up all over the place. In this group got the code camp, and that group has a code camp. And it's not that I don't think that all of us should learn technology, but they actually are convincing the people that are attending that camp that that's going to get them a job. And the reality is, companies have no interest in hiring you when you've been coding for 6 weeks. But you're thinking to yourself, because they're just the way they are communicating it, people actually get caught up and they spend money on these camps. And so it's a whole industry. But at the end of the day, great, you now know HTML. No, IBM is not going to hire you. We've got experts who's been doing this for 20 years, and you can start in the mailroom. But and that's very frustrating I don't want the guy who's going to be doing my plumbing to have done a 4-week class. I don't want my doctor or dentist to have done a 6-week class. I have spent years mastering what I do in disaster recovery, project planning, documentation, technical architecture documents. And that's the reason why I'm able to get the positions that I have. But somehow there's this belief that because you see a few people blow up, that it's easy, that, oh my goodness, all I've got to do is, create a fake business plan and take a code camp and I'm going to become the next millionaire. And, would you hire someone who has 6 weeks of experience? So what makes you think that with your 6 weeks, you're going to suddenly become an expert? You've got to take the time to go deep in whatever technology you want. And you've got to be willing to sacrifice the time. This is the age of immediate gratification. If I can't find it on Google in the first page, I'm not even going to search further. If you want to be a successful Black technologist, then you've got to be willing to put in the time and effort. And I'm not even talking about working hard. I'm talking about working smart. But working smart may require research, may require taking risks. I don't have any problem with anyone working for corporate America. I've been a consultant for corporate America and made a lot of money, doing that. But at the end of the day, if you have a dream and a vision, and that's your side job, then that's okay, because you know what's missing from our communities, and a lot of it's been discussed in other sessions: generational wealth. We have no legacy that we leave behind, and part of building that wealth is starting our own businesses. So I'm always eager for someone to start a business, but don't just think that you can, pick up and say, oh, you know what, I've got an idea and I'm going to make it a reality because I set up a Wix page. There's much more to actually starting a business, to getting financing, understanding financial management. I will tell you, the most important class you can take in college is economics. If you don't know micro and macroeconomics, you don't know how the market moves, you don't know how money flows and the importance of money. That's why we all get bad credit by the time we're 21, because we didn't understand that good credit is worth more than money in America. If you've got 800 credit score, you are saving tens of thousands of dollars on your house, on your car, on everything that you do. You can walk in the door and sign and get the zero down, zero whatever, because you understand how to manage yourself financially. And we don't talk about that at the dinner table. I do with my children, but it's not something that is discussed a lot, and it's something that we need to work on. And we always say, when I was growing up, my parents taught me to work hard. And it's only as I've gotten older that I've realized I didn't even know the game. If I had been working smart, I would be so much better off now than I am, because the things that I know now that I'm passing on to like my daughter for like 5.5 years to finally finish, because she was trying to discover herself. But then she ended up being a personal trainer for some, chain. I love kickboxing or whatever. And then she said, Dad, do you love what you do? Because I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. And I said, yes, because I'm up late at night working on something, and when I solve it, no one knows, but I'm like, yes, I actually enjoy what I do. And she was like, I'm frustrated because I feel like I'm working hard, but I'm helping someone else's dream. Because I'm working the hardest here and I'm helping the company grow, and they're paying me, but not that much. And it's actually just helping that bosses achieve their dream. So she decided to start her own business. So she became her own personal trainer, but then it turned out a lot of the people from the gym liked her, and guess what? They came to, but now they were paying her, not the gym, which means she wasn't having to worry about a percentage of their stuff. And she has learned something that we don't always do: leverage family, as much as possible. She actually turned my basement into her own personal gym, cleaned out everything. But she's like 25 years old and she's got like $40,000 cash in the bank and has her own, advisor, financial advisor. Now I'm guiding her, but the fact is, I'm so proud that I was able to pass on knowledge that I wish I had when I was her age, to her now, that she is actually learning to say, oh, I don't just need to, work hard. I need to figure out how to invest. She invested in Peloton because she happens to have a Peloton bike. And she's like, Dad, I made $3,000 in December because Peloton went up. And she, again, it was little things that I'm like, hey, listen, you need to learn how to do these things. And it's things that I didn't know when I was 22 and 23. And so I want our generation to pass on to the next generation that in order for us to have generational wealth, we have to start our own businesses. We have to understand the system, understand financial management, understand investment. It's not just, hey, I've got a new idea, I'm going to run out and do it. You can actually have your money make money for you if you know how to apply it. And I know that's not what this session is about, but just
and that, you know what, Dale, that's good, because it doesn't matter what the session was about. It's about the knowledge and expertise and experience that we can provide to people that are watching, people that are listening, people that are coming up behind us. We don't have to stick to a script. If we have something that we can share that it's going to empower others, go for it. I mean, I learned myself. I'm a I'm a mom of a recent graduate from Bowie State University. So, we talk about certain things that obviously wasn't talked about by my grandmom, because my grandmom raised me second generation. She was a maid. That all she knew was, being a maid and taking us to church and leaving that foundation. And my God, she lived to be the age of 98 years old. I held her hand and she transitioned, and she made me. She gave me all that she could. So it's our responsibility, Ken. It is our responsibility, Dale, to give to the next generation. And if it's not our own, flesh and blood, it's still, we've got a whole future out there. Because one day, Ken, Dale, we want to just be on St. Lucia doing nothing. And we want to make sure everything's all right, over here. So that is great. I mean, we could go on. I'm looking at the time.
Right.
Michelle says we need more of this kind of mentoring in our community. Gems, thank you. You already know. Keep it on task. That's the idea behind the event. Well, yes, we know that. So we only have like about a few more minutes. About 8 minutes left.
Let me get one quick idea.
Go ahead. Yes, give me your.
Right. Yeah. Piggyback and bringing it more back to the black tech thing. Whatever is that. Yes, folks focus on jobs. That's you do some of the things that Dale's talking about. You can build some sort of wealth, but technology is the most dynamic industry on the planet in terms of just running things, but we have no real ownership and control of it. One of the big picture ideas about Blackfacts is encouraging and creating opportunities for other folks to get involved with some of the things that we are putting up that will provide revenue opportunities, etc. But just in general, we're looking at creating more black tech businesses, because it's the ownership and control of business assets is one of the most probable ways to create intergenerational wealth. And we've got Blackfacts, etc. We have other ideas like blackpeople.com. We wanted to launch that as a social network since the 90s. We would love to find some younger folks. We're too old to be running that, right? Find some young folks who will take that, and run with it. So we are really committed to getting that idea in people's minds, because it doesn't seem to be in a lot of folks' minds that, there's still nothing stopping us. There's no old boy network. No white person has ever gotten in my way of doing anything around technology. Wide open. But so we need to think about, how do we establish our own businesses that we own, that we control, that we generate wealth that comes to us. So that was just to piggyback on the
And Dale, go ahead and piggyback on the Ken's piggyback, and you can guys piggyback, because this is your forum, this is your platform.
So we have this thing that's part of our, I think Ken calls it a big, hairy, audacious idea. We have this thing called the Wakanda Technology Initiative. Yeah. And the idea behind the Wakanda Technology Initiative is that the Wakandas protected their culture with superior technology that they owned and controlled. And we are trying to do the same thing at Blackfacts. We have a back-end AI engine. We have all these tools and capabilities. And, while we started with Black history and have extended that to Black news, and now we have Black history videos, we'll be having, Black business directory, etc. At the end of the day, we're trying to create the technology to uplift the race, and we want to make that technology available, whether for free or at reduced prices, to other businesses of color, so that we can control our own destiny, so that we don't have to be dependent upon somebody else to have a platform. It's our platform. It's owned and controlled by people of color. We actually control our own messages. Black newspapers and magazines are all disappearing, or being bought up by non-Black people. We're trying to say, the internet is a platform for distribution of content and information, and we are number one on all 3 search engines right now for Blackfacts. We're going to be the number 1 news source for Black news by the end of this year. We have the only source on the internet for extended Black videos that are social media ready to be able to display, and we want to make sure that others can have access to that, whether to just incorporate that onto their websites, or to say, well, what kind of tools do you have so I can build my own project? Because if we own it, we control it, then we're not dependent upon someone else to be successful.
Right. And Dale, what Dale was just mentioning, we call it the Blackfacts Minute. If you go to blackfacts.com, first thing you see is a 60-second video, talks about something that happened in Black history today, on that day of the year. We're giving that away to any individual, company, whatever, that wants those on their website. If you can either sign up at blackfacts.com/Blackfacts Minute, or the easiest thing is just send an email to subscribe@blackfacts.com. And that way we'll also get on our mailing list. We don't spam, but we'll let you know what we're doing. And you also can get our Black Fact of the Day, which is just a few things that happen during the day. We have tools that let websites that want to put Black history on their website. Also, easiest thing, because we're running out of time, get in touch with us. I won't name them because it's probably not prudent, but we just signed an agreement with an online magazine that caters to Black women, that we're going to help them build out their their ability to get content out there and all. And we're looking to do that for schools, for for journalists, and then for small businesses, etc. Because the one thing we do is technology. We don't necessarily write, we're not media people, we're not super in the marketing. We'd love to find folks who can market some of the stuff we're doing. Our lane is technology, and hopefully, as a model for us collaborating, is if more of us understand what's the thing that we do better than anything else, and just focus on, you got one job, that's your one thing, and find other people to balance you out. I think we can make it.
Wakanda for life. That's who we are. Ken, Dale, you guys are amazing. I mean, I've learned so much, and quickly, like, we got your contact. Just this is Friday. This is the end of this conference. I want to say thank you, Ken, Dale. What do you want to say to our wonderful attendees of this week?
We'd love to get in touch with you. Send an email to subscribe@blackfacts.com so that we know who participates and who wants to be involved. At the end of the day, technology is boundless. It is the biggest growth area in the world right now. And even as a Black person, we can continue teching while Black and be successful in our own right. So don't give up, keep pursuing your dreams, and don't let anyone stop you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And subscribe, but also share Black Facts with folks, because this is tech that Black people did this. There's very few places in any industry where we can say, you know what, we did this. This is our stuff, and it's not official yet, but we
yes,
Dr. Tubman.
Later on in the year, we're going to be making these available to folks. We got a few different designs, but yes, Black Facts matter. We are telling our story. We're committed to putting us in control of telling our story in our words, so that we can break that cycle going on for centuries of other people defining who we are, whatever. This is our techie chagwalia, is what I call it. Self-determination through technology. That's what we do. We need to find other folks who can do, the creative and educational things, etc. We want to hear from you. Please, get in touch.